Today I'm going to show you how to do the knit stitch. The knit stitch is one of two basic stitches in knitting. You have the knit stitch and the purl stitch. So we'll start with the knit. You need to start with a cast on row. I have several stitches cast onto my needle that I'm going to hold in my left hand along with this tail here, and the tail will just be held to get it out of the way. And I rest the needle, kind of securing it with my pinky and ring finger, but focusing on holding the tip between my first finger and my thumb. Then I'm going to wind the yarn between my fingers on my right hand. The key here is to create some tension, but also have the yarn over your first finger so you can have some movement with the yarn. You can manipulate where it goes with this first finger. Now we need to hold the needle in our right hand the same way we do in the left hand, balancing it between your fingers, but holding the tip between your first finger and your thumb. I actually pick up my needle first and then wind the yarn. It's just easier to show you the other way around. Now for the actual stitch. What you're going to do is take the needle on your right hand and place it into the front of this stitch on the left needle. They call it the front, technically, in knitting books, but what really I think it is the bottom or underneath this stitch. So if you can see, these are the knots created from the cast on, and you're going to place this needle just above that first knot underneath inside this loop here. And what you do, if you look at the top, is you have the needle in your right hand is crossed behind the needle in your left hand. To create the knit stitch, what you're going to do is take your piece of yarn, wrap it around the front of the needle in your right hand so that it sits between both needles. Now take the needle in your right hand, and this is going to be a strange angle, but you pull that piece of yarn through the stitch and slip it off the left needle. You've made your first knit stitch. From another angle, you're going to insert this needle into the stitch, wrap it around, and pull it through. Now, I'm going to kind of keep switching around so you can see this from various positions, although each time you're really going to see the needle coming in from underneath here. Wrap around, oops, I missed that one, and pull through. It's a little difficult to knit through a viewfinder, I'm learning. Okay, so we stick that underneath there, wrap that around, and pull it through. Put the needle in, wrap it around, and pull it through. Now this is, I believe, the English method of knitting. There is another method called the Continental method, which I have been practicing, but just cannot get the hang of because this is how I learned to knit, and this is what's more comfortable for me. Those who knit using the Continental method claim that they can knit more quickly because they don't have to drop the needle. But if I pull out here and show you what I'm doing, I do drop the needle, but I do kind of balance it with a finger here as I'm pulling my yarn up. Where I'm really creating the balance is here where the needles meet. I'm actually able to balance this needle on my first finger of the left hand so that I don't even really feel like I'm dropping the needle. Of course, these will all be things that you'll pick up as you get more practice. So now we're at the end of the row, and this is one question I see a lot of people don't know. Well, now what do I do? How do I begin the next row? It's simple. You take this with your first row and your cast on, and now this becomes the needle in your left hand. This blank needle now becomes the needle in your right hand. Secure your yarn, and you begin knitting again, placing your needle into the stitch, wrapping and pulling through. And there you have it. Now you're knitting.